Welcome to Internal Affairs of the Mind, where we don't chase trends, but we chase the truth, where reflection is weaponized and reality's got no place to hide. Some people preach, some people pretend. Me, I investigate. I'm Greg Thompson, a retired cop with over 2 decades experience, but a lifelong investigator. And now, a full-time interrogator of the human condition. This isn't therapy. It's not philosophy class. It's an investigation into everything they told you not to question and everything you told yourself you didn't have time to. Let's crack today's case. Let's chop it up. Welcome back. This is episode 3. And today I'd like to talk about how some people run from discomfort. Me, you already know. I investigate it head on. That's why today I'm not investigating someone else's story, but I'm digging into and sharing parts of my own. Deeply vulnerable parts. A discomfort I've lived nearly every day of my life. See, I'm what you would call a unicorn. I lived both as a target and a tool of the same system. The one that made me spend countless time questioning everything. Where I came from, who I was, who I wanted to be, who I was expected to be, and ultimately, who I should be. I've survived in constant crossfire, not just on the streets, but inside my own head. Judged by the color of my skin or how I looked, and then convicted by the uniform I chose to wear, and ultimately sentenced by people who seemingly never cared. Too black for the badge, too blue for the block, too white to be trusted. Hell, too damn mixed up to claim a side. This ain't metaphor or drama. This is my life. And the wildest part, after being misread, mislabeled, misunderstood, and definitely underappreciated from every angle, I still found a way to break free. To choose different. To search daily for something or some way to keep moving forward without harnessing and unleashing the same kind of hate received in return. Searching, not from the outside, but from within. So today I want to chop it up about what I'm going to call double jeopardy. Judged by color, convicted by uniform, freed from within. So let's get it. So as I've mentioned before, I wasn't born into black or white. I was born into the blur between them, a gray area that rarely got grace. Being biracial in America is like growing up in an interrogation room. Both sides take turns playing detective, shining that light in your face and asking, did you do it? Whose side are you on? But the actual truth is, they don't want my truth. They want conformity. They want me to blend in. They want a version of me that makes them comfortable, that supports their place that I belong. Among black folks, I was generally embraced. There's a strong sense of connection if you're even a drop black. But that didn't mean it was without its challenges. I still heard, you talk too white. You're not black enough. I was called zebra, Oreo, skid mark, amongst many others. Insults meant to remind me I didn't quite fit anywhere, or to make me feel less. Now, white folks, that dance was much more difficult. The rejection wasn't always as loud. It was silent and sneaky. I could feel it in the distance some kept, the way they'd shift their gaze or avoid conversation altogether, the uncomfortable feeling in the air, the elephant in the room. I was always amazed at some of the conversation folks felt comfortable having, not realizing, oh shit, Greg's black. Yep. And now you done fucked up, Ron. Unwittingly exposed themselves for who they really were. Hidden agendas. I remember a moment from my childhood that stuck with me the most, that told me exactly how fractured this construct of race could make us. It was when someone asked me, and this serious questions. I really got asked this regularly. If a race war broke out, what side would you fight for? I'm a wise ass. I used to say, I fight myself. But that joke, it was really a way to mask the real emotion I felt as a kid, that I wanted to belong somewhere, and nowhere completely accepted me. And then I went and complicated it further. I became a damn cop. This didn't just add another layer of complication to my identity, it actually painted a larger target on me. To some black folks, including family and friends, I was now a traitor. How could you wear that badge? You know what they have done and continue to do to us. To some white folks, I was still just a black man with a badge they didn't trust or respect. If they thought I was black, I was the enemy within, infiltrating. If they thought I was white, I was a symbol of oppression. Nobody asked or cared why I chose to wear the badge. Nobody cared about my heart behind the oath I took. They saw the uniform and often judged me for it. One day, very early in my career, I responded to a call where a woman said someone had shot at her car. Turned out to be a BB gun, but obviously dangerous nonetheless. I was first on scene and I spotted a man on his porch holding a dog on a leash. I stepped out, identified myself, and tried to talk to him. But he cut me off, saying, "You step on my property, boy, I'm letting this dog go." Now I was in full uniform. I was the law, damn it. But to him, I was just a boy who forgot his place. Now, for those of you who may be missing the connotation in his use of the word boy, he wasn't referring to me looking young in age. I was still new to the South and I still had plenty of New York in me this time. So I clapped back. I told him, "If you let that dog loose, you'll be burying it like old Yeller." Seconds later, another officer pulled up. He was white. That same man, suddenly polite. "I'll talk to him, not you." Now I had a decision to make: prove I belong there and escalate it, or fall back and de escalate. I chose peace, but not without some pain, some attack on my pride. Because in that moment, I wasn't a man, I wasn't a cop. I was the target and bearer of his hate. And the messed up part I continued to learn as time went on, some of my very own people said very similar things. Made me believe that I didn't belong in that uniform either. That day and many days to follow taught me something brutal. When you're black and wearing blue, you're a contradiction, a walking paradox, judged by my color and convicted by the uniform. So, why am I talking about all of this? How does this possibly interest or assist you in any way? Because I didn't let this outward behavior intended to break me or change me, I didn't let it define me. I chose to expect that treatment, but defeat the attacks by being authentically me. I found a way forward by refusing to choose any side that focused on hate. So, as we do, here's the opening field assignment. I want you to be honest with yourself. Can you truly say that every cop you've ever dealt with mistreated you? Or is it possible a bad encounter, maybe yours, maybe someone else's, convinced you to brand the entire profession? Are you carrying your own badge of bitterness that was earned by a few and now applied to all? Have you ever walked into an encounter already expecting to be disrespected, mistreated, profiled, and possibly found exactly what you were looking for? It's not an accusation, it's a challenge to check our lenses. Because if we're going to be brave enough to demand accountability from others, we better be bold enough to examine our own expectations too. But you don't have to subscribe to this, but I believe it unequivocally that what we put out, what we give, will come back to us, sometimes tenfold. So there were days, I'm gonna shoot you straight. The badge weighed heavier than the vest. Not because of the streets or the suspects or the inherent risks of being on the job, but because of the people I loved questioning whether I'd sold out, whether I'd traded my skin, my soul, for a paycheck and a uniform. I'll never forget the George Floyd protests. That time didn't just shake the nation, it also split me in two. As a human being, I was gutted. I was sickened. I watched, again, as the kind of policing that shames all of us played out on repeat. But as a cop, I was broken because now I wasn't just a man doing a job I believed in. I represented a walking symbol of everything they hated. My own people, friends, family, people I'd grown up with shouting, "Fuck the police," with no distinction, no line drawn between those who wear the badge to protect and those who use it to destroy. Social media turned into a battleground. My feed flooded with toxicity, rage, blanket statements branding all of us as racist, evil, corrupt. And whether they meant it or not, those shots were hitting me too. Some tried to soften it. It's not talking about you, but it damn sure felt like it. Every time someone posted, "All cops are the same," it felt like a brand being burned into my skin. Hell, I remember being asked, "Do you take classes in the academy on how to treat black people different?" Are you fucking serious? That's a real question. I even got calls from parents of kids that I coached that hurt my soul. They wanted direction or my assistance in how to help their children, black and Hispanic children, navigate encounters with the police. Asked me, how do I help my child return home safe to me if they're approached by the police? Can you imagine how much that hurt? Thinking that the people I cared about, that trusted me, that they may now look at me as that person? That hurt me deep, knowing their real and reasonable concerns, because it was real. But I also wasn't just a cop. I was a father, a black father who reminded his children regularly about having pride of their heritage and their culture and embracing it, even if externally they didn't look that way. I was a father raising children in a world where the uniform I wore suddenly made me the villain in their eyes, too. My kids were old enough to watch it all play out, real time, high definition, 24/7. I remember looking in their eyes, wondering if they thought, even for a second, is that how my daddy treats people at work? Imagine all that. I had to sit down and convince my own children that their father, and so many others like me, wasn't the monster the world was painting, that their father stood for something deeper than that noise, that I had vowed to stand between and against people like that so that I could keep them protected. I had to try and provide some sense of security to the families that trusted my leadership and my character enough to hopefully reduce their fears of my chosen profession for the safety of their own children. That kind of pain, that kind of conflict, it don't clock out. It doesn't leave when the shift ended and you remove the uniform. It keeps you up at night. It takes up residency in your soul. It makes you question if anyone sees you at all, or just the you they've chosen to judge and hate. So you have to set boundaries to protect your peace. It's not selfish, it's necessary because you have to let your decisions come from a place of peace, not reaction. Allow for a place to turn breaking point into turning point. I was getting hit from all sides, under siege, still in the crossfire every day. Loyal to a profession that truly was my calling, but had become a curse. And love for a community that saw my uniform long before they saw my intentions. So, how do I not come out jaded, bitter, hardened? Is this job even worth it anymore? When way more often than it should, someone wearing the badge does something so damn stupid and reckless, it sets us all on fire. Let's keep it a buck. The loudest noise isn't what's shouted in protests or posted online. It's the voice inside your head, especially when the world outside goes quiet. Because, see, I was trained for combat, for violence, for chaos control. But at night, alone, in the silence, when the fear creeps in, the doubt, the questions, the second guessing, shit, if a therapist ever spent time in my head, they need their own therapist. I've carried more hate, trauma, and pressure than I care to admit. Not just mine, but everybody else's too. And I've had every reason to give up, to hate back, to numb it all out, to quit, to lose faith. But I haven't. And God willing, I won't. So, what has helped me or guided me? How did I, or better yet, how do I navigate not always clapping back or letting that pain and the constant attacks turn me into the same monster, stop me from taking the easy route and just go ahead and join the group? Be angry because my children are watching. They're learning how to love or how to hate from me. They're learning how to carry pain, how to navigate a world that doesn't always treat them well, and sometimes shows them its ugliest, nastiest side. And I'll be damned if I let them believe bitterness or hate is the only way to survive. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not raising victims, and I sure as hell ain't raising doormats. I'm raising champions, but ones who know the difference between fighting for something and fighting because of pain. I want them to stand their ground with strength, not spite, to speak truth, not rhetoric, to know that hate might feel powerful in the moment, but in the end, it eats away just as much at the one who carries it. Because, see, I've found the real wisdom lies in knowing who to ignore, what to overlook, when to leave or where to leave things, when to move on, and ultimately, why it's all necessary. So here's your next field assignment. So who's watching and learning from you? And be honest, because just as important, who are you choosing to watch and learn from? Are you feeding off the noise, letting partial media clips, outrage, and agenda-driven voices train your perspective? Or are you influenced by someone who's actually earned their scars and their wisdom? Someone who chooses to lead without needing to divide. Someone who isn't stuck in hate because they've lived what it costs. We don't get to excuse our choices just because the world's messy and we may just blend in. So who's shaping you? Your kids, your circle, some algorithm? And honestly ask yourself, who are you influencing? What are they learning about patience, pain, pride, humanity? So let me be transparent. I haven't mastered any of this myself. I doubt I ever will. I'm not exempt from the same trap of using hate to judge. I've made decisions under pressure that I've had to sit with later. Decisions I didn't feel proud of. Never illegal, but I could have chosen different nonetheless. I've let emotions get the best of me, let the moment win. But I understand and I audit myself constantly. That voice in my head, it's my worst critic and enemy. But that's how I stay grounded. That's how I keep growing instead of defaulting to the same old programming. And I made a choice. Hell, I make a choice every day. I choose grace. Grace isn't about ignoring the mistakes. It's about not letting them define you or not letting other people's mistakes define them. If I can stand face to face with someone who hates me based on my race, my badge, or both, and still choose to see that person, not the label, then what excuse do the rest of us have? And believe me, sometimes that grace, it was met with more hate, more ignorance. It would have been easier to give it back, but easier doesn't equal better. It just fuels the fire, continues the cycle. So a few days ago, I saw this play out in real time. I was walking past road construction where a Hispanic male was stopping cars so no one could get into an accident. A black male driver decided he wasn't waiting, so he swerved around him, completely ignoring the danger. An argument broke out when the worker shouted, called him stupid. Wrong choice of words, perhaps, but not exactly inaccurate given the risk and the choice made by the driver. But then the driver snapped back. Say one more thing, and I'll call ICE on your dumbass. Let that exchange sink in for a minute, because everything about this scenario says something very concerning about the times we're living in. Thankfully, it stopped at words. No fists, no police. But in that moment, Grace had two chances, one for each man, and neither took it. See, grace is not weakness, it's resistance. It's a rebellion saying, I see the cycle, but I refuse to keep spinning in it. Remember, I will not be the hamster on the hamster wheel. The world's loud as hell right now, screaming labels, selling division, giving oxygen to the fire with all the hate speech, drowning out the actual truths. But silence is where truth actually lives. If we sit still long enough, quiet enough, we might just hear who someone really is beneath the noise. See them for them. Judgment's easy. It's lazy. It takes no effort to assume, to attack, to humiliate. But if we're serious about change, we have to start listening more than we react. We have to stop letting headlines, hashtags, and clickbait write our stories. Grace isn't just for others. It's a discipline we have to train in ourselves. It's armor that lets us walk through fire and still come out human. So, what am I suggesting to you? Or what am I offering up as something to learn and to continue to train for? How about reminding yourself that I don't have to react to everything that bothers me? Sometimes the power is in just taking a breath, a pause, letting it go, and keeping my peace, because that's the bar. Here's your final field assignment. I want you to ask yourself, how hard is it to truly change yourself? Then realize how little chance you have to change somebody else. Think of a time you were in an argument. You knew you were right. Did you actually win? Maybe the argument, but did you lose the relationship? What did it cost you? Sometimes fighting fools just makes us fools too, especially when the fight is fueled by emotion and not truth. And here's the sad part. Today, people believe lies without proof, but demand mountains of evidence before they'll accept the truth. We're all flawed, all complicated, all contradictions in perpetuity. We judge others on their actions, but expect to be judged on our intentions. So let's flip that. Let's be better than the noise. Let's be louder than the lies. Not by shouting back, but by standing united in grace. And please understand, I'm pushing us all to improve because it's an act of love, not an attack. And at some point, I pray we all can develop the ability to be disliked enough to free ourselves from the prison of other people's opinions. As I like to remind myself, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. But people's opinions don't have to occupy space in my mind. So, like I always do, let me leave you with one last quote. This one I believe is a Swedish proverb, and I love it. And it goes something like this: fear less, hope more, eat less, chew more, whine less, breathe more, talk less, say more, hate less, love more, and good things will be yours. This has been Internal Affairs of the Mind. I'm Greg Thompson. Thanks for listening. We'll chop it up next time.